With an increasing popularity of cheap sport action cameras and 4K videos at the same time, it was quite logical to expect an affordable 4K action cam to appear on the market and compete with bigger brands such as Sony and the GoPro. Company based in Shenzhen, China, called CNFPV is certainly one of the first that step into this 4K race by launching their 6S action camera. 6S is an alleged 4K video recording Wi-Fi sports camera that can capture 12 megapixel still images and videos in wide variety of resolutions. Moreover, it has a built-in gyro sensor which enables video stabilization and a 600 mAh battery which should extend battery life significantly. Camera official retail price was around $140, but it seems to be decreased quite a lot recently and can be bought now for a little over $100. I'll put some links in the video description where you can get it for a good price. With that price and all the advertised functions and options, you may be wondering, is this camera a bit too good to be true? Well, this is where I step in. In this video, I'll be testing out its performance, video, photo, audio and features, so stay with me. We will find out if Firefly 6S is worth the price tag and is it really a 4K action camera. Okay, before I unbox this camera and show you video and photo samples, I would just like to point out that I also wrote an in-depth article on my website and I will put the link in the description of this video. Up there you can check more in-depth information and also download video and photo samples to preview them on your own PC. The box in which camera is packed is no different than any other action cameras I reviewed. What is interesting is that nowhere on the box will you see a 6S or Firefly branding, which is quite weird. As you can see yourself, manufacturer prides themselves with a 4K video, Wi-Fi app, 30 meters waterproofness and large capacity battery. I will talk and test all these features in just a moment, but let's now unbox this camera and see what's inside. Besides tiny shaped black camera, box contains lots of accessories. Some of them are useful, some of them are not. Here is what you will get. The manual which came with the camera is brief but quite good. It is probably one of the best manuals for sports cameras from China that I read. It is written in simple language and provides clear instructions about features. I like the amount of info it covers and it goes quite in depth and explains each and every feature. Certainly worth reading if you buy this camera. Camera also comes with a 30-meter waterproof housing, and please understand that in this video I'll not cover how this camera performs underwater. First, because I'm not a diver, and second, it is a brain freezing out here, so it is very hard to go anywhere in the water and I just do not want to get wet now. What is extremely interesting about Hawkeye 6S camera is that it is a true mixture of three very popular action cameras today: Xiaomi Yi, SJ4000 by SJCam and MCO 5000S. As soon as I saw it, it was quite obvious that they borrowed the design from these three manufacturers. On the front, it looks quite similar to 5000S. At the back, it reminds quite a lot of Xiaomi Yi, especially because it does not have an LCD. On the side, it has rubberized edges that prevent slipping and are exactly the same as SJCam's most popular camera, SJ4000. I reviewed already all of these three cameras and I'll put the links to them as well in case you're interested in finding out more about them. The advantage of 6S is that they combine the best from three worlds and managed to bridge the gap between SJ4000 and Xiaomi Yi by adding a tiny screen on the front, which enables changing options, resolutions and settings quite easier. As far as the lens is concerned, I'm not quite sure about it, but I think that they are using identical lens that Xiaomi Yi uses. When it comes to build quality, it is better made and more compact compared to SJ4000, but not as firm as Xiaomi Yi, and not to mention Dasny P3 or Get1 cameras. Camera comes in two colors, black and silver. It has clean design with no silly branding and colors, and that is something I found quite appealing. It has an interesting solution of putting memory card slot at the bottom. However, I noticed that sometimes it is easy for dust and dirt to get inside, especially if you're using it outdoors in the extreme situations. I will not show you what each and every button does in this video because it would be very boring. If you're interested in finding out the functionality of each button, just check the link in the description. I wrote about it in my article. Let's now check the video quality. What I really like about Firefly 6S is that this little camera can record in wide variety of resolutions. Here you now see them on screen, and I uploaded raw video samples on my website, and you can download them and preview them on your PC. All of my videos, however, in this YouTube video will be recorded in 180p 60 frames per second. All other resolutions, including the alleged 4K and 2.5K, can be downloaded there as well. The videos you're now watching are recorded with 2.2 firmware version, or the version of the software. Originally, camera came with 2.1 software, and it was terrible. Really, videos were quite shaky and colors were terrible as well. However, they managed to update the software, and camera now works quite well. I like the video quality, it is very sharp, colors are very good, though I would really like them to be a bit more vivid. There is also gyro video stabilization, which stabilizes the video, and it was turned on in most cases while I was recording. I noticed that it works quite well, similar to HD 4000 Plus gyro version. One of the complaints that I have about this camera is that while you're recording, there is no recording indicator at the back, and there is no sound indicator either. That is terrible. It is hard for you to know whether or not you successfully started or stopped recording a clip, and it is very annoying and takes a lot of time to get used to it. You always need to check up the front shutter button just to see if the camera is recording or not. Camera also works quite well in low light, but some objects in distance can get a bit blurry, but it is, in my experience, quite normal that action camera performs like this in low light, so quite decent in low light as well. Do not think that I forgot, but I wanted to leave the 4K video for the special part here. You all know that manufacturer advertises that this camera can record 4K video at 24 frames per second. Is this true? No, it is not true. I'm sorry, I know that you were hoping that it is true, but it is not. The camera does not record in true 4K resolution. While it can record in various resolutions, including 2.5K, 4K resolution is something that this camera cannot support. Let me clarify that. The so-called 4K resolution for Firefly 6S is 2880 and 2160. Well, if you're into 4K, you know that actual resolution of 4K is 3840. This means that camera vertically has the same amount of pixels as a 4K video, however, horizontally it lacks 960 pixels to be true 4K. This is a bummer and quite a shame. I really hate them for doing this. They interpolated videos, and some players such as QuickTime will show that this is a true K, but this is just because manufacturer managed to trick some players into thinking that this is a true 4K videos. If you preview them on most of the players, including the reputable VLC player, you will see that this is not a true. Do not get discouraged. This does not mean that video quality is bad. No, it just means that it cannot support full 4K resolution. And I personally never use 4K. I'm quite satisfied with full HD 180p. This is the resolution in which I record. 4K takes so much space for me, so much time for rendering, post-processing, and I really think that 4K is overrated anyway, but that does not justify the manufacturer which tried to trick us all, and this is very shameful. I think that they can be even sued for this because they're advertising 4K on the box and the camera just does not record in 4K. In terms of sharpness and colors, camera is above average Chinese cheap GoPro clone. Manufacturer claims that it can take 16 megapixels images. This is again not correct because they are using 12 megapixels image sensor, so 12 megapixels image sensor cannot record in 16 megapixels. They again managed to interpolate the resolution and trick us again. Very disappointing. However, 12 megapixels photographs are excellent. I love the sharpness of them, they're quite sharp. Colors again are not vibrant and you can choose from vivid and standard colors. I recommend you to use vivid, but the vivid option does not give vivid colors as much as I expected. If you want to learn more about how manufacturers interpolated this resolution and why they did it, I clarify that on my blog. I do not want to bore you to death with this information and to technical clarification of things. So Let's now move on. Besides colors, my biggest concern was that the camera was sometimes struggling to get proper exposure when facing a bright sunlight in the background. You can see some photos where the sky is too overexposed, and right now there is no solution for this. It can probably be fixed in the software updates, but as now in this firmware I tested it, overexposure is quite an issue for the camera. It works also very good when facing in direct sunlight and gives interesting flare effect, which I really like. It is a personal preference, someone might not like it, but I like this flare effect. Okay, now the boring part, which most of you do not like, but I have to include it. Besides video and photo modes, there is also a setting mode, and it allows you to browse through different options that camera has and adjust them to fit your needs. Besides standard options, there are also some interesting ones such as time-lapse, loop recording, USB power-up record, wide dynamic range, burst mode and plenty others. Now, I'll not explain each and every of these options because I already wrote about them on my blog, so if you're really interested in finding out what kind of options this camera has, I recommend you to go read it because it would be too lengthy video if I started explaining what each and every option does. Some of the interesting options are removing fish eye, for instance, that I really liked, and also color option, which allows you to switch from vivid to standard. Everything is explained on my blog, just if you're interested, go read it. Let's now see how the app of this camera works. So you probably know that Firefly 6S is a Wi-Fi camera. This means that you can turn on the Wi-Fi onto your camera and connect it to your mobile device and operate it from your phone completely remotely. Firefly made both iOS and Android apps, so you can use them with your Android phones and also your Apple devices. The app itself is terrible. It is quite buggy on Android where I tested it, and it is identical to Disney P3 app that I tested a while ago. While the interface is quite simple, the functionality is terrible. App is quite hard to use. When trying to preview a video, there is a huge lag, which makes it impossible for you to see what you're recording on your phone. Options inside the app are also quite modest. Not all the options that camera has are included in the app, which is also a big flaw. At the time of writing this review, app is one of the weakest links of this camera. It requires a lot of work and updates, and this is certainly one of the buggiest app I ever used. Overall, quite poorly made app, and it should be their priority to fix the app and make it work the way it should. With 1600 mAh lithium-ion battery that powers 6S, and the fact that there is no huge LCD to consume a lot of power, I expected a much better battery performance from 6S. On the screen now you can see the results of battery performance tests in various resolutions. The results really made me think that manufacturer did not optimize everything the way they should. It is unthinkable to me that Disney P3 that has huge 2-inch LCD screen on the back, 80 minutes with much weaker battery compared to Firefly 6S. Okay, summary time. For little over $100, Firefly 6S is quite decent camera. It provides very sharp video and above average photo quality. Colors on the photo or video are natural looking, though it would be much better if they were more vivid and lively. I like the way the manual was made, and I enjoyed having a lens cap as a protective piece for my camera. Accessories included are pretty standard, and they could have been more creative by adding few more things such as external charger, for instance. Video stabilization on the camera is quite decent and it works quite well, but make sure to update to latest firmware in order to make it work properly. By looking at the camera packing, it is obvious that main selling points for this camera were large capacity battery, 4K videos and 16 megapixels images. I already told you, 4K is not true, 16 megapixel photo are actually 12 megapixels photo, and battery life is not that good either, considering that it has pretty good battery powering it. One more disadvantage of this camera is the fact that it does not have LCD screen at the back, which makes things a bit harder, especially for beginners, to know what they are recording or photographing. For quadcopters and multicopters, I think that this is pretty decent camera, even though I'm complete newbie to aerial photography, but it has some functions such as AV out and USB auto startup recording, which these guys that use it know what they are. Do not get bothered if you're not flying drones. This is something you will not use. In conclusion, Firefly 6S provides good value for the money, provided that you get it for around 110, 120, not more than $130, I think. Since this is their second camera, I will try to be polite. Please allow me to be polite just for a moment. Dear manufacturer, next time when you make fake promises on your box, people, including myself, will sue you. You are doing quite a lot of harm to your own brand by advertising something that this camera does not do. You could have left out 4K quite easily and better battery performance on your box, and this camera would still be good, but just without fake promises. Please, in future, try not to make these fake promises, because I will be very harsh if your next camera does deceptive things like this. You made pretty decent camera, but it is deceptive and tricky, and it is not good way of doing business. Okay, polite mode turned off. So that was it, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you would like to know where to buy this camera, I'll put some links at the description of this video, including where you can download photo samples and read more info on the camera itself. If you have any sort of question or just would like to let me know your experience of using this camera, feel free to drop me a comment below. I would really like to hear what you guys think. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.